There are rumors that Kathleen Kennedy, KK Cray Cray, is out the door at Lucasfilm. I'll believe it when I see it. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is blowing up, as in flames. The thing is going down just terribly. She has not done a great job as the Lucasfilm president, and it looks like she's going to do more damage to Star Wars before she exits stage left. And here talking about that is big old nerd, collectible guy, comic book writer, editor. He's written for shows and stuff. Aaron Sparrow.
Mean guy on Twitter,
mean tweet.
I've done it all. You know what? I'm so excited, Wes, because, this is the Sunday on the launch weekend of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It is, fighting for the record of just the worst performing, biggest money loser of all time, baby. And you know what? I'm really excited about it. We've seen Kathleen Kennedy and Disney destroy Star Wars. We've seen them destroy Willow. We've now seen them, destroy Indiana Jones. Now Kathleen Kennedy's failure is complete.
Absolutely. She's been a failure since day one. I remember the quote where she said, "What do you want me to do? I don't have comic books like Marvel to draw from. We got to do everything original." And I was like, the first Star Wars comic came out before the goddamn movie. They've only been making extended universe stuff for decades upon decades. That certainly covered all kinds of time frames, but according to Kathleen Kennedy, they've been concentrating on the George Lucas stuff and finishing that up for him so they can move on to the stuff that they really wanted to do. Speaking with Games Radar, Kennedy discussed the upcoming Rey film, which she has been calling New Jedi Order in previous interviews, telling the outlet, "I think that's always great about Star Wars. It's a big galaxy, and we're coming off what was a major war with the First Order, and now Rey has made a promise to Luke, and that's really the core of where we're going and what this story will be. And I think it offers just tremendous opportunity to introduce new characters and start something fresh, because we culminated with what George Lucas was creating, and now we take all that and move it to the next chapter." That was culminating? That felt like destroying.
Yeah, that was a de-evolution of everything that George created. I don't feel like it was connected to anything George created at all. And, the reason that she can go out there and she can say, like, "Oh, there was no comic books, and there was no books for us to draw from. Each one of these is such a tough nut to crack." What she's really saying is there was no source material that had my specific set of sensibilities, and, none of it reshaped Star Wars into being an edifice that glorified me, as opposed to George Lucas's vision. That's really what she's saying when she says that. And that's everything that they're trying to do with Star Wars, is she's trying to to edify herself and her own vision, which is not a vision at all. It's every single movie that has come out from Lucasfilm, every single project that has come out from Lucasfilm since she took over has been replace the heroic male leads with a brunette British woman. That's it. That's the whole, make them sad, make them depressed, and replace them with a British woman who's a brunette.
She even did it in her own production of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They're even replacing him, and they kind of created that character.
You know what? Technically, I guess Bo-Katan is not a brunette, nor is she British. But still,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're doing the same. So hey, she broke the mold. Look at her, something bold and new.
She went and broke something of her own. Good job. Well, I guess it's Jon Favreau's. It's not like she came up with the idea of the Mandalorian.
No, she just went in and slapped it with. Do you remember the old Dave Chappelle skit where he's doing like Kinko's, and he says every half hour you got to go into the bathroom, and he's got like a big thing of chocolate sauce and fling it all over the toilet. That's basically Kathleen's contribution to any of these projects.
Yeah, you've got to feel bad for Mark Hamill and obviously Harrison Ford, the late Carrie Fisher, because when they signed on for this, it was like George Lucas's vision. He actually knew what that trilogy was going to be, and then when he sold it, their contracts with that, they decided to honor them. And then Kathleen Kennedy just crapped the bed. But if she thinks people are looking forward to her version of Star Wars now that she's finally put a bow onto the George Lucas stuff, like without George Lucas and his creativity and his ideas in there, it's nothing.
No, it's funny to me that you say bow, because in the case of Kathleen Kennedy, I would say that bow means big steaming shit. Which is what's been taken in Star Wars, and now Indiana Jones and Willow. What is left? What is left to destroy? I mean, they're going to go back to the well with Star Wars. She's talking about how they're going to go into this new era that's apart from George, even though she's stealing New Jedi Order from the novels that were produced under George that continued Luke Skywalker's story. They're doing an Heir to the Empire movie with Thrawn, but they're gonna replace Luke with Ahsoka or some crap. Like what? It's just all that they're doing. And even Dave Filoni, who everybody's like, oh, Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is all right, but
baloney. He's not all right.
Clone
He got
Wars
lucky a couple times.
I mean, Clone Wars was good. I'll give credit where it's due.
After season 2, it was pretty good, but he still made that goddamn movie, and it's terrible.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. It did get good though, so I'll give him that. And even season 7, I liked most of. I thought the Ahsoka stuff was strong. The problem is that Ahsoka's his waifu, and he's too focused on her, and she's got to be the center of everything. And that's not what Star Wars is. You can try to make it that, but the old school fans are going to reject it, and kids aren't interested in it. There's just not a lot of kids coming in and asking for Star Wars toys. You know where the kids are right now? The kids are over at the Transformers wall. That's where they're going. It's like where they come in and they go, where are the Transformers? And that's where they walk over to.
Well, Filoni may be too lasered in on Ahsoka Tano, but Kathleen Kennedy's got her own boo. A leaked synopsis from the Rey-centric film, courtesy of issue 1335 of Production Weekly, states, set roughly 15 years after Rey's victory over Palpatine at the end of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the sequel delves into Rey's courageous endeavor to restore the Jedi Order, where she assumes the role of a mentor to 2 promising young students, a girl and a boy. You won't guess what comes next. As her training progresses, it becomes evident that the girl possesses extraordinary abilities, destined to emerge as the future leader. It's got to be true.
You've made Star Wars a girl's property. I mean, what? This is just what do you expect? Also, this story sounds like it's kind of ripped from the Old Republic expansion with the 2 brothers. It just kind of everything that they're doing is just like you cancel the EU and then you go in and you continually strip mine it to put an inferior version out. I mean, are we even going to get to this Rey movie?
There's no way. This has got to be some kind of enormous troll on the part of Kathleen Kennedy's part before she finally leaves Lucasfilm. She's like, I'm going to get all these fuckers.
I think she tries to speak things into existence. I think that's just what it is. And that's, why they're like, hey, don't go announce any new projects. And she's like, oh, okay, I won't. And then goes out and goes like, we're going to do a Rey movie. How many things has she announced that have never come to pass? Where's that Ryan
Far
Johnson
more than
trilogy?
have actually happened.
Where's the D.B. Weiss and Benioff Game of Thrones guys movie?
The Kevin Feige movie. The Colin Trevorrow movie.
Yeah, the Jabba the Hutt weight loss documentary.
Ryan Johnson trilogy.
All these things that it's comical at this point, and it would be funny if it wasn't so sad to see that this is what Star Wars has become when you hand it to a corporation, just a big faceless, soulless corporation filled with hacks. That's what's going to happen. Corporatism is pretty much the death of any creative endeavor.
Well, it's better to laugh than cry. That's what I got to say about this, Sparrow. So at least you can have some fun with it while you're just watching something that was just so amazing. For so many years, there was a time when bad Star Wars was at least acceptable. Like, the Phantom Menace isn't very good. What's the second one, Attack of the Clones? I didn't think you could make a worse Star Wars movie than that. And fuck it. They showed me it is not only possible, like you can do it 100 times worse than Attack of the Clones, which I thought was, oh man, it's such a bad movie. The only way to watch Attack of the Clones, and I found this one out, if you have it on Blu-ray or DVD, anytime Anakin and Padme are in the same scene together, you just hit next chapter, you skip through that, and the movie ain't so bad.
Yeah, I actually like all the Jango Fett stuff. That's
the action's still good.
Yeah, and even like I even like the the Geonosian arena and all the little bug people coming out of the walls, and that's all fun. That's all very much in the spirit of Star Wars. I will say this about the prequels, that at least although not entirely successful, I think that at least George tried to do something different, whereas with Kathleen Kennedy, she's just regurgitating what's already there and trying to rework it in her own image. And it doesn't work because her image sucks. If she had not taken the Lucasfilm job, if she had just continued as a producer in Hollywood, just living off of things that her husband did, or that, great men like, great creative minds like Spielberg and I hesitate to use great men because I don't know them personally and who knows what they get up to behind closed doors. But, great creative
geniuses of movies.
Yes.
They are very creative people.
Yeah, You know, just as long as she could attach herself from a moral like to people like that, I think she would have had a pretty good legacy. I think now her legacy is going to go down as the, just the greatest destroyer of evergreen IP, the worst studio head in history. I think that's going to be her legacy. At this point, if I was her, I would be going out there and I would be saying, no, I was actually a secret agent for George Lucas, and my mandate was from him to, just try to get people to better appreciate the prequels and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, because that's what her tenure has done. It's made people look back and go, man, those weren't great, but I'd take those over this crap any day.
I like the part where she acts like she's doing something new. Like, we've never really went and explored other parts of the Star Wars universe. We've only concentrated on the George Lucas, Skywalker saga and all that stuff. And she probably doesn't even know that they've actually created an entire line of multimedia properties based on one specific time in Star Wars. It's called the High Republic. And here's the bad news. Obviously, I'm a comic book channel. I can tell you the sales for High Republic comic books after the very first issue have been abysmal. Turns out they haven't only failed in comic books, they failed everywhere else. Star Wars book sales numbers from Circana Bookscan were shared by Michael Gallig and Declan Finn in a newly released article on their Upstream Review Substack. Specifically, the two authors shared that the first Star Wars The High Republic novel, Star Wars Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, has sold 119,000 copies in a hardcover format. However, subsequent novels saw massive declines in sales, with Cavan Scott's Star Wars The Rising Storm hardcover placing second on the list with only 60,000 sales. And third was Claudia Gray's Star Wars The High Republic Into the Dark hardcover, only selling 58,000 units. The fourth entry belongs to Charles Soule, with the paperback version of Star Wars Light of the Jedi selling only 38,000 copies. And fifth is Justina Ireland's Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage, selling 38,000 copies. Not only did they share declining sales, but they also compared the publishing initiative's first wave of books to its second wave and determined that Star Wars The High Republic saw a 90 to 95% drop in sales between the launch with Light of the Jedi and the current High Republic novels in barely over 2 years. I have a feeling with the people that they have in place at Star Wars that nothing that they actually launch will ever be successful. It doesn't matter if it's associated with George Lucas.
You don't think diversity in dinosaurs is cutting the mustard there? Do you know how many? I think I remember.
I thought Claudia Gray was a big deal. Apparently not.
Apparently not. Apparently not attached to the High Republic, which is not a big deal to anybody. Nobody wants it. It's like people keep rejecting it, and they keep doubling down. They keep thinking that if they just keep, if we just stay the path, it's going to turn around for us. It's going to be great. People are going to love the High Republic. They're going to love.
I remember seeing the very first cover for the comic books, and the one lady's on there, and she's got the mental illness haircut, and I was like, oh, I see what this is. I'm not even going to check it out.
Yeah, well, remember the big hubbub over the lightsaber, the sticking the lightsaber in the wall, and then being able to hold yourself up. It's like you don't even understand the way that lightsabers work in this universe. I mean, it's everything's well established, and you guys can't be bothered to read, and that's why they did away with the EU. They didn't want this new wave of activist authors that they were bringing in having to be hamstrung by what had come before, and the established rules of the universe. They wanted to change everything, and that's what the High Republic was designed to do. It was designed to change everything. It was designed to show you that hey, when women were in charge of the galaxy, everything was fine. It wasn't until Yoda and this Palpatine guy started messing things up. It's just another teardown. Do you know how many? I think I remember reading this, that in the first year of Heir to the Empire, when that book came out by Timothy Zahn, that it sold 15 million copies in its first year.
I believe it. That's a damn good book.
And now look at where we're at. We can't even crack 100,000. I mean, granted, Charles Soule.
That's the big success. Let's not talk. That's the high water mark.
Well, let's go with that then. Let's go with the high water mark for him. Charles Soule is not Timothy Zahn, but still, you should be able to move more than 100,000 units.
And I've got news for Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni and anybody that's like an executive at Lucasfilm in charge of Star Wars. As soon as you leave the stuff that people are familiar with and they're attached to, and you decide to take this journey somewhere else where they don't feel like they have the need to go along because there's no personal attachment, no one believes that you could make a good Star Wars anything at this point, and nobody's coming with you. You think numbers for Andor are bad? Just wait till you see what happens when you put this shit in the theaters.
Yeah, throw Acolyte on Disney Plus. See how that does. Let's get some High Republic on TV and see how that does. It's like everything is hitting diminishing returns. People don't believe it's going to be good anymore, and no matter how many people hear that Andor is pretty good, including myself, I don't care. I don't care because you made me apathetic about Star Wars. And that's something that I never thought would happen.
Hey, if you didn't want to mess it up, you should have made a good Andor. You should have made a good Boba Fett show, because that's the one people actually cared about.
Yeah, Boba Fett and Obi-Wan. If you guys had, nailed that, if you put you put Tony Gilroy on that, maybe you would have had some success. Maybe you could have ridden the goodwill that Mandalorian got you and actually started to repair what you did with the sequels. But, it's Disney, it's Lucasfilm. They're never, it's just ego and hubris. They're never going to not double down. They're never going to admit that they made a mistake. The first thing that anybody who comes in and takes over Disney as a new CEO should do is say that, hey, those sequel movies, those are non-canon. And you know what? We're not even going to put them out on Blu-ray anymore. It's just done. And that would be the first step towards people going, all right, well, what else do you have to say? What else are you going to do with Star Wars? We'd still be distrustful. We'd still be suspicious, but we at least would go, all right, good olive branch. What do you got?
Yeah. So half of me hopes that this rumor about Kathleen Kennedy being expelled from Lucasfilm after Indiana Jones 5 is true. The other half of me wants Kathleen Kennedy to stay in place. I want her to move on from the George Lucas stuff and really have to eat the enormous plate of crow that's waiting for her when she realizes George Lucas is the only reason anyone fucking cared in the first place.
Absolutely. I think that that'll be beautiful. I have a little bit of that anarchist spirit in me too, Wes. It's like I yearn for good Star Wars. I would love to see it sold off to somebody who cares and can make it good. But at the same time, I have that morbid curiosity. I have that little bit of fire that's like, make that Rey movie. Oh, I dare you to make that Rey movie. Please, please. And then go and do your own Star Wars, with your own interpretation. I want to see it. I want to see it all burn.
It has not been a good decade for Star Wars, to say the least. Yes, there have been a few high water moments, but for the most part, it's been massive disappointment across the board. Star Wars is dying a slow death under Kathleen Kennedy. She does not know when to step away. 5 years ago was the right time. Now it's way too late, and we shall see what happens. Definitely check this video out here. There's also a link in the video description.